So, Devin, fourth quarter starts with the Ravens on the Chargers 25, 4th and 1 again. Derrick Henry easily converts, getting 2 yards. A few plays later, you've got the Lamar Jackson throw to Mark Andrews in the back of the end zone that they initially were calling incomplete. And it's like, I know it's hard in real time with the naked eye to see these blurs and flashes, and you're trying not to get trampled, but come on. That wasn't even close. Like, who the hell thinks that wasn't a catch? And it was. But this was a key moment, and it gets back to analytics. And this is one little facet. I know Chris Sims hates when a team's down 14, scores a touchdown, and goes for two to maybe make it a 6-point game. And that is a very specific analytics exercise aimed at avoiding overtime, and it improves your chances of winning, yada, yada. This is, you're already up one. I remember Pete Carroll did it, I think, against the Patriots a few years ago, or tried to do it, and I think it failed. But you're up one, you get 6, you're up 7. Conventional wisdom, you take 1, go up 8, so the other team's got to score twice, touchdown and punch it in from the 2-yard line to tie the game. But if you go for 2, up 7, then you're up 9, and it's a 2-score game. And I always think of games that way. 1 score, 2 score, 3 score.
Yep.
Dr. Seuss book. But John did it. 23-16, going for 2, going for the early dagger. Force him to score twice, and it didn't work. And I almost thought that would give the Chargers a lift, because it's like, hey, we're only down 7 now. We don't have to go for 2. We just go down, kick the extra point, tie game. 1 drive, tie game.
That moment, I had to double take. I was like, wait, because I looked at the score and I'm like, why are they going for 2? They're up 7. And I'm over here, I'm like, damn, am I doing my math wrong? And I thought I was like, okay, up 7, go up 9. I mean, but I'm like, why? Like, I just didn't understand the reasoning behind it. And again, like you said, that's why I don't like going for it, because for one, it worked out for him in this situation, but players, they realize that, like, most of the time you're not fully paying attention to like how the game is going to end up, 10 minutes from now. Like, you're more focused in on, all right, the next time, if I'm on defense, the next time we get on defense, you understand once they go up 7, depending on what we do as an offense, like, we can't give up another touchdown. So you might talk like that, but you don't really pay attention to that until you're about to jog off the field, or you're about to line up for the extra point, your field goal block, and you look at the sideline, you're like, oh, they're going for it. Then you start looking at the score, and you're like, okay, why are they going for it? Sometimes, they're kicking a PAT takes you up 2, so all right, they're going for it to try to go up 3. All right, that makes sense. But once you see like they're up 7 and they're just trying to basically put us away, there's an extra layer of like, all right, this is a must stop. This is a gotta have it moment in the game. We have to get this stop, or they realize that they're going to put the game away. And now essentially if that happens, there's still enough time to come back, but it creates this sense of urgency of getting a stop. And once you get a stop, usually you'll see these defenses as they get that stop and they're jogging off the field. Now, remember, you've given up a touchdown, but you kind of forget about that moment. And you come to the sideline and you're starting to yell at the offense. You're yelling at everybody like, let's go. Like, this is our moment. And sometimes you see the team storms down the field, they score, and then some of these gutsy coaches say, all right, we're not only going to score, we're going to go for 2 now and go up a point or whatever happens. So it works for Baltimore, I think, in this moment, because I thought Harbaugh understood, hey, we're going to go for this. But the reason we're also going for this is I feel like we control the game right now. And I think he felt like the way their defense was playing, and I think he felt if we get the ball back on offense, we're going to put this game away because they can't stop us. And again, I think a lot of coaches think that, and you do it. If it works, you get a lot of credit for it. When it doesn't work, it was a bad decision and you get all the blame for it.
And before I move on to what happened next, and I don't want to be overly critical of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I think they're great at what they do. I love listening to them on Monday nights. It becomes just part of the comfort, like listening to Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on Thursday night. It's part of the routine. Listening to Joe and Troy after a long day on Monday, I'm comforted by the sound of their voices. and you've called enough games now for Westwood One that you understand there's a lot going on. You're in the middle of a hurricane of information and people talking to you and try to process in real time in a stadium that is loud and active and things are going on and you're seeing this. And I don't envy the position, but when something like that's happening, we need an explanation for the average fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is unconventional. This is weird. Here's why they're doing it. Hell, we still don't get from most broadcast teams, college and pro level, a thorough explanation of why a team down 14 that scores a touchdown goes for 2. And these are finer points of analytics that we know about now. And I think it just, because you're going to have a lot of confused people. Most of the millions who were watching the game last night aren't aware of this idea. Hey, we're going up 2 scores potentially. They're just wondering, what is the kicker injured? Am I not aware the kicker's injured? Why are they going for 2 here? This is where you go for 1. So you need to, and again, look, they did great. I don't want to be critical, but it was one of those, it contributes to, wait a minute, what am I, were they down a point?
Yeah.
Like, you need to have, and that's the value of good broadcasting, somebody plants a flag and makes clear you understand what's going on in the game. They're guiding you through the game. Hey, folks, Baltimore's doing something unconventional here. We'll explain on the other side why they did it, whatever the case may be. But that added to my confusion. Like, yeah, am I missing? Like, wait, they're going for 2. And then, oh, yeah, that's the old go up by 9 trick. And again, like I said, a lot's happening. And part of that confusion can maybe help you convert it. If you've got your offense planned for a moment like that and the defense isn't, maybe you steal an easy 2.
And I think that's so interesting because so much of this happens, and we keep calling it analytics, but like you say, it's strategy, it's planning. A lot of times as players, you're not thinking about that. And when we think about these broadcasts, a lot of them are former players. It's guys that have played the game. And some of the more obvious things, like I talked about, if you're going to go up, 3 points, then you go for 2. If you're going to only be up, 6 points or 5 points, then 5 points, you go for 2 to try to go up 7 to understand. Now, there's a lot of guys, I think, when you get in a game and you look, you're like, okay, that makes sense. I'll explain that. But I think because of the way the game is now, we've seen coaches that are just like, I'm going to go for 2 in a moment. And I think as players, sometimes we're like, I don't understand that. We were all together in Detroit for the playoff game, and you just spoke about it. They had a chance, 14-point game, and they're like, they're going for 2. And almost everybody, Coach Dungy, Rodney, me, Sims, like, we're all like, this makes no sense. And all of the people that might not have played the game or have studied just the end of it, they were like, no, well, wait, there's a scenario. And they start breaking it down to us because from a playing standpoint, it's like, okay, we're down 2 scores. We'll get it to 7. We'll score again, and then we'll tie the ball game up if we kick the extra point, or we'll decide to go for 2. That's a decision on the game, what's happening, all of those things. Some of this other stuff, to me, it's not talked about when we're in meetings. It's like the analytics, that part of it, it's not discussed as much from a player standpoint of understanding. It's more seen as the coaching staff or whoever else is hired in the analytics department, to them having an understanding of how they want to call the game or do different things. But the actual playing of the plays that's going to be ran doesn't change much. If they're going to go for 2, it doesn't matter if they're going for 2 in the fourth quarter, in the second quarter, it's a 2-point play. We studied the 2-point plays. That's it. So I think some of that stuff, I agree with you. It's probably going to have to come from outside of the booth, of guys who are part of the production team or understanding that side of it. We have so many great researchers and people like that who understand, and they study that more, I think, than the actual former players or even the play-by-play guys.
And the fact that the players are largely in the dark raises a different issue from my standpoint. Because if I'm a coach, and football players everywhere should be glad I'm not, but if I'm a coach, I want my guys to understand why we're doing what we're doing, because I think if there's any part of your brain that's spinning with what the are we doing here, you don't want that. You want your players to understand and buy in and realize the strategy. Hey, guys, here's why we're doing what we're doing. Like if you come, like I feel like if you get your guys on board with it and they like it, This is what we're doing. We're going to go for 2 and we're up 1 in the fourth quarter because then we're going to be up 9, and that's pretty much night at that point. And I would want my players to understand that. I wouldn't want any of them to be thinking, what the hell are we doing here? Why are we going for it here? Let's get everyone on board. And there's only so many hours in the day and only so many days in the week to get your players ready for a game. But I'd want my guys to get excited. I remember the limited time I played football. If there was something different that was happening and the coach told us that it was coming, we'd be excited about it and look forward to it.
And the hard thing to manage that as a coach is, okay, who are the guys that I'm going to need to understand this to then relay it to the rest of the team? Because some of these things that you want to do, sometimes you have a good amount of guys on the team who it's like, huh? What? Coach, no. I'm not like, you know what? I go play ball. Like, I want to run, I want to hit, so you have to try to manage. And I'm sure within those situations, you think about the quarterback position, you think about the center position, some of the top communicators and leaders on the team, they're usually understanding that more. You look on the defensive side, the middle linebacker, the safeties, some of those guys. Then there's a good amount of guys that sometimes you lose them before you get them when you try to go deep into, okay, 9-point game. Okay, we're down 14. Let's go for 2. Now, next thing you know, you end up explaining like 8 to 10 different situations, and maybe 3 of them come up all year. So you have to try to balance, all right, how much time am I going to put into something that's not going to come up that much? And how much am I going to confuse my guys when I try to implement too many different things?
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.